Millions of retirees believe their savings are safe. They worked for decades, saved consistently, avoided reckless spending, and finally reached retirement thinking the hard part was over. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of retirement money is sitting in places that quietly lose value every single year. Not because the stock market crashed, not because someone stole it, but because the setup itself slowly drains purchasing power over time. And most retirees don't notice it happening until years later. What's dangerous is that many of these places actually feel safe. That's what makes them risky. Today, we're going to talk about 3 places where retirees commonly keep money that could quietly put their retirement savings at risk. And more importantly, we'll talk about safer ways many financially smart retirees are protecting themselves instead. Because retirement is no longer just about saving money. It's about protecting what you already built. The biggest financial difference between working life and retirement is simple. When you're working, mistakes can often be repaired. If you overspend one year, your paycheck continues. If investments underperform, you still have income coming in. If inflation rises, you may eventually receive raises or promotions, but retirement changes the entire equation. Once regular paychecks stop, your savings become the engine supporting your life, and one bad financial setup can slowly drain that engine without you realizing it. That's why retirement feels emotionally different financially. Every dollar suddenly matters more. Healthcare costs increase. Unexpected emergencies feel more stressful. Taxes become more complicated, and inflation quietly affects nearly everything. Groceries, insurance, housing, utilities, medical expenses, even small price increases become noticeable when you live on fixed income. Then there's another growing problem: scams targeting retirees, financial confusion, family disputes. Many retirees aren't losing money because they made reckless decisions. They're losing money because they assumed their current setup was already safe enough. And sometimes safe enough becomes dangerous over long periods of time. The first risky place is where many retirees keep most of their savings: regular bank accounts. Now, to be clear, bank accounts absolutely serve an important purpose. Everyone needs accessible cash. Emergency money matters, monthly bill money matters. The problem begins when too much retirement savings sits untouched in low-growth accounts for years and years. Because while the dollar amount may stay the same, the purchasing power slowly shrinks. Inflation is one of the quietest financial threats retirees face. You don't see money disappearing directly. Instead, your money simply buys less over time. And that creates a hidden form of loss many people underestimate. Imagine a retiree with $200,000 sitting mostly in standard savings accounts. At first glance, that feels secure. The balance looks stable, there's comfort in seeing the number remain unchanged. But 10 years later, the cost of living may be dramatically higher. Groceries cost more, healthcare costs more, insurance costs more, housing maintenance costs more. And suddenly that same $200,000 no longer supports the same lifestyle it once could. That's the danger. Many retirees think safe automatically means protected, but money that never grows at all can slowly lose strength over time. Another issue is concentration risk. Some retirees keep nearly all their savings in one single bank institution because it feels simpler, but putting everything in one place creates vulnerability. If fraud happens, if accounts get frozen temporarily, if paperwork problems occur, or even if family complications arise, access to money can suddenly become stressful. This is why financially careful retirees often separate their money into categories. They may keep emergency cash accessible, but long-term protection money may sit elsewhere in lower-risk diversified strategies designed to help offset inflation gradually over time. Not aggressive investing, not dangerous speculation, just smarter balance. Now let's talk about the second risky place, keeping almost everything inside one retirement account. This catches a lot of people off guard, especially retirees who spend decades doing exactly what they were told. Contribute consistently to retirement accounts, delay taxes, build long-term savings, and that strategy absolutely helped millions of people prepare for retirement. But later in life, concentration inside one type of account can create new problems many retirees never expected. One major issue is future tax uncertainty. A lot of retirees have most of their savings sitting inside traditional retirement accounts, like IRAs or similar tax-deferred accounts. The money grew over time without immediate taxes, but eventually taxes still come due when withdrawals begin, and many retirees underestimate how large those withdrawals may become later, especially once required minimum distributions begin after age 73. At that point, retirees may be forced to withdraw money whether they need it or not, and those withdrawals can sometimes push people into higher tax situations unexpectedly. That creates what some financial experts call a retirement tax trap, not because retirees did something wrong, but because all their retirement money ended up concentrated in one future taxable bucket. Now imagine tax rates rise later in life, or healthcare expenses increase, or widowed spouses suddenly file taxes differently. The financial pressure can become much heavier than expected. That's why many financially organized retirees focus on tax diversification instead of relying entirely on one account type. Some keep part of their savings in Roth-style accounts, where qualified withdrawals may be tax-free later. Some maintain separate emergency cash reserves outside retirement structures entirely. Others create a mix of taxable, tax-deferred, and tax-advantaged savings, so future flexibility improves. Because flexibility becomes extremely valuable during retirement, the more options retirees have later, the less pressure they feel when circumstances change. Now, the third risky place may be one of the most overlooked of all: joint accounts without proper protection or planning. A lot of retirees assume that simply sharing accounts with a spouse or family member automatically makes everything easier. And sometimes it does. But without proper setup, joint accounts can create serious complications later, especially during emergencies, illness, or after death. One major issue is elder scams. Unfortunately, retirees are heavily targeted by scammers because criminals know many seniors have accumulated savings over decades. Phone scams, fake bank alerts, fraudulent emails, investment schemes, even people pretending to be family members in trouble. And once scammers gain access to one shared account, the damage can spread quickly. Another issue is family conflict. This is uncomfortable to talk about, but it happens more often than people think. When finances are unclear, misunderstandings can grow after a parent passes away. One family member may believe they were promised something. Another may assume they deserve control over accounts. And suddenly, financial stress turns into emotional conflict. Some retirees unintentionally create these problems simply because their accounts, beneficiaries, or estate documents were never updated properly. Then there's the issue many widows and widowers face unexpectedly. After a spouse dies, certain accounts may become temporarily frozen while paperwork gets processed. Bills still exist, expenses still continue, but access to funds may suddenly become slower or more complicated than expected. For someone already grieving, that financial confusion can feel overwhelming. And sadly, many retirees don't realize these risks exist until they personally experience them. That's why financially organized retirees usually focus heavily on preparation, not fear. They review beneficiaries regularly. They make sure trusted family members understand where important documents exist. They organize passwords, account information, and emergency contacts carefully. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more retirement and financial protection strategies. And let me know in the comments which of these risks surprised you the most.